think you're gonna need to scoot the Facebook one back a little.
Okay.
Angle it down a little maybe.
All right. You'll have to do that with the little knobby thing there on the side. You gotta hold it up first. There you go, hold on to it. There you go. I think we're live on better fix my belt.
Oh, right, because we're doing
Live on
stand-up
YouTube.
Oh, okay.
My head's cut off a little bit, but I can step back. I think this covers most of it. All right. So we're trying to fix that on the Facebook. So we're gonna do today's entire live session from the standing position. Everything else has been on the ground. So we're gonna really focus on the standing position here. You won't need to move that. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. So I'm working with my partner in crime here, my oldest son, Zaven, and we're gonna do some of this, the self-defense techniques. And when I say self-defense techniques, I think it's kind of I don't know, it kind of bothers me that we say it's self-defense. It's all self-defense, okay? Jiu-Jitsu is and always will be, in its essence, realistic self-defense. So we have a sportive aspect that we play, and most of it happens on the ground, but all of it develops skills necessary for you to be able to defend yourself, okay? So the main thing that we do when we're on the ground is we take out the traumatisms, my favorite word in Jiu-Jitsu. Traumatisms meaning anything that he can't tap out in mid-strike, right? So I take out any bites, eye gouges, anything that's going to cause trauma where he doesn't have the opportunity to say, stop, all right? So yes, we do train with strikes quite a bit, but you have to be safe when you're doing that. So you're either wearing gloves or even with gloves, you're gonna be pulling your punches a little bit. You're not gonna be following through and hitting as hard as you would in a real fight. Okay? So what this offers us when we're training, even from the standing positions, it allows us to develop skills that are directly applicable to the fight, and it allows us to do it in a way that we can go at a very high level of resistance with low risk of injury. And that's really, that's important. Now the problem is, for a lot of people, they enjoy that part so much that they forget about the realistic self-defense situations, okay? And so what do I mean by that? Like, the reality is that, you know, if you watch MMA, okay, there's rules, okay? There's weight divisions. There's a situation where they're walking into a ring, okay? You know, they check your gloves, they wipe grease off your face, you know, check for cup, all that stuff, protective gear, and they step in, they wade you in, everybody's in. And so, you know, you've got fighter over here, you know, and a guy comes out and says, let's get it on. Pretty certain a fight is going to ensue, okay? Self-defense is a little bit different. So what do we mean by self-defense versus fighting? A friend of mine summed it up very nicely, basically saying that self-defense, there's a little bit of an unknown. Okay, it's not an agreement, right? It's the beginning of the fight, so to speak. But once the fight is started, now it's a fight. Okay, now you're in a fight. I'm probably butchering the way that he demonstrated that, but for example, different than MMA, where we know a fight is going to ensue. They signed a contract. It's going to happen. There's not a whole lot of elements of surprise, okay? So the most important concept for us in self-defense, right, before the fight is actually started, is positioning ourselves to defend, okay? And element of surprise is a massive advantage in a fight. So how can I, as the defender, if I'm not going to start the fight, how can I have the element of surprise on my side? Well, very simple. I want to make sure I have the distance. When this distance, he doesn't have the space to punch or kick me. Okay? He has to close that distance. So imagine, you know, let's say China or North Korea or somebody is sending over warships. And we don't know what's going on, but it's a very aggressive action. They haven't said anything, but they're coming towards our shores. Do we wait until they make landfall to declare war? No, there's probably going to be a warning shot first, like, hey, what's going on? Okay, they get a little bit closer, now we're going to have a problem, right? So we set up a barrier, even if it's invisible. You have a realistic expectation, you should have, of distance and safety. So if somebody that you don't know is approaching you, and maybe in a very negative manner, maybe and you can sense it, right? We all have that sense in ourselves that something's not right, okay? Maybe I bumped into his car. Maybe I cut him off and I have no idea what's going on. I see that he's agitated. It's okay for me to have a comfortable, safe space and just say, no, sir, stay over here, please, okay? You don't have to be, you have to be confident in what you're saying, but you'll notice how my stance is, okay? This does not look like I want to start a fight. My hands are up, but they're ready, and I'm ready to fight. I don't want to fight, but I'm ready, okay? So this is the stance that we're going to start with. I have at least 2 arms linked. I say, listen, sir, please stay over there. I understand you're upset, okay? So I'm kind of projecting, or kind of talking to him about, look, I understand you're upset, okay? That's much different than say, look, stay away, man. You come any closer, I'm going to kick your butt, okay? That sounds like a challenge. So I want to lay out, like, look, listen, I understand you're upset, sir. You need to stay back, okay? I don't know you. I don't trust you, okay? We can have a conversation from here. So it's very important for you to have that confidence to set that boundary, okay? And then be ready when they cross that line to declare war, because action is always faster than reaction, okay? So if I'm in this range, my hands are down, come close please. If I'm in arm's reach like this and he decides to throw a punch, I'm not going to be able to react fast enough to block it effectively. If he's already in his position, in his stance, he's strong, and he decides to act first, I don't have the timing to make it happen. So if I have, remember, the closest safe distance is 2 arms length, okay? Now, you look at my position, this is way different. If I'm like, listen, sir, I don't want any trouble. Stay away, right? My hands are not, they're not expressing the same thing that my voice is expressing. So I want to be in a position like this, because I can't. I'm not in the fight hasn't started yet, okay? I'm declaring this space mine, and I'm telling him, and I'm going to project the consequences, right? Look, sir, if you come any closer, okay, look, I'm going to defend myself, right? Especially if he's already threatened me, okay? Now, saying I will defend myself is a confident statement. It's not a challenge, and that's the important thing. Is you need to practice this just as much as your techniques. Practice what you would say in each scenario. Think through these things, okay? It's very important, because your words can very much, in most circumstances, dissuade the fight. Your posture, your confidence, and your words, okay, can very much dissuade the fight. That was one of my favorite things. One of my first seminars with Gracie. Some guy asked, like, hey, what's your favorite techniques in the street fight? And he says, words, just words. Because I don't have to fight in the street. If I'm confident, I tell the person, right, and I stand up for myself, they can sense it, okay? So that's very, very important, all right? Now, you have to have the teeth behind it. You're going to have the skills. You have to develop that. It's very difficult to fake confidence, right? You can try, but most people, most predators especially, can sense it. They can see through it, all right? So how you stand, how you project yourself, okay? Not screaming, but being confident, okay? And being very resolute and letting them know, like, look, it's not okay. You don't come any closer to me, okay? It's very important that you have that confidence to set that boundary. Now, if they step into that range, now you have to decide, am I going to step back or am I going to go in, okay? So if I feel threatened enough that it's time for me to go, okay? So I'm here, listen, sir, don't come any closer to me, okay? Now he steps in. I can have the opportunity. I can step back if I want. I can run if that's the thing that's necessary. But, okay, if I have to address this situation, all right, and I'm always going to be as humane as I possibly can in the response, but I'm going to protect myself, okay? So the very first thing we're going to do, okay, he steps in, boom, and then we're going to close that distance, okay? So you're not even in range to throw the punch yet, right? Okay? Now, this is very much, I'll butcher the name of the technique, but they call it Pizao, I think. Pizao? P-I-Z-A.
A with the squirrel.
Yes, A with the squirrel.
Pizza.
Pizao. Thank you. He's learning Portuguese. I need to catch up. All right? So my hands are up, okay, but not in an attacking way. The majority of my weight is on my back foot, okay? I think in karate they used to call this like a cat stance, so the front leg can flip up fast. Now what I want is a very natural position where I can move, okay? And movement's very important, making sure I'm always in base, okay? So if I'm here and he steps towards me, okay, and step back. Always move in that fashion. If you're moving backwards, your back foot moves first. Always want to be in base, okay? If you move forward, front foot moves first. If you move to the right, right foot. Left foot. Very seldom are you going to change that. You can break the rules every now and then on certain throws and things like that, but for the most part, that's going to be the basics of movement. Being in base, okay? My hands are up, okay, in a very defensive nature. So if you see over here, you know, like maybe it's across the parking lot, they don't hear what's being said, all they see is this. For the most part, they're going to recognize and they're going to see, like, oh man, I don't know, officer, I saw the guy was defending, he had his hands up, and the guy came at him and tried to punch, right? He was just defending himself, right? So that's very important for us to think about, all right? So I'm here, okay, he steps in, you can practice, you can step back. Now, when you're ready, you're not taking a step in. This is the most common mistake when we see it, is this step in here like this. You don't need to do that. Remember, they're helping close that, we're intercepting it. So it's not like a karate kick where you step in, it's not a side kick where it's boom and then back. That's a technique. This is a little bit different, okay? This is a kick, but it's also an interception, and it's also our first step. All right, so it's closing the distance, all right, but we're going to utilize this kick. So it starts way earlier than you think. Right now, we're at 2 arms length, okay? The second he moves in past that, I either have to move back or I got to go in. Step back again, okay? So right here, okay, step, boom. You'll notice I'm leaning into it. So this leg is ready to fire. So as soon as I decide it's time to go, my leg comes up, sideways, and I'm aiming anywhere from the low hip here down to the top of the knee, all right? Practice this carefully when you're with your partner. Obviously, you see how Zaven is not locking his knee out. He's got it bent like this. So I can practice and get my time. And all I have to do when I'm practicing is just touch the leg, okay? I want to hit the leg, and I'm going to step to the right. Boom, here. I put the helmet on, I crash into it, and then I'm going to wrap, okay? And we're going to go right to this T position. So that's first. All right, so hands up. Listen, take it easy, sir. Don't come close. Boom. So there's a little bit of voodoo, right? Like, hey, look up here, look up here. People don't expect the first strike in a fight to be a kick. Rarely is that the case. It's most often past the escalating stage. So you have the words, right, and then the people get argued. This is how a lot of fights start. Oh, and pushes back and forth. So there's an escalation, okay? But first off, if there's an argument and I'm in this range, my hands have to be up, okay? So that's very important because we talked about that before. You don't have the time to be able to block here and here, right? And you don't have the time to bring your hands up in time to block, okay? If he decided he wants to hit my shoulder, pretend it's my face, right? My flinch reaction may help save me a little bit, but I don't want to get hit, okay? So if he's in this range, my hands have to be up and I have to be in base. Even if I'm standing flat-footed like this, okay? Come push me. Push, yes, good. You see I lost my base here, okay? Now, come push me. Did you try to push me? Wow, good. Do it again, okay? Hey, take it easy, okay? Now, you tried to push me, right? Good, don't try to make me look good, all right? Okay, so the only difference there was I shifted my weight forward to my toes, my hands are up, okay? I would prefer to be away if I feel this threat. But even here in this range, like maybe we don't know that the fight's going to start yet, but I'm ready. In my hands, I talk with my hands all the time anyway, right? My hands are here. So I have the ability so my flinch reaction is much faster, and I'm ready to block. So even if he tries to push, I'm in base, and I'm coming on the inside here like this, and I'm framing like this. So it's almost like this. Now, same here. If he tries to throw a punch, okay? You see, now my head can come on the inside. I don't want to take a headbutt from him, okay? So listen, sir, take it easy, okay? He tries to throw a punch. Now we can slip, we can take his back, all sorts of stuff, okay? But now, when I touch him, when he comes close, hold on 1 second, sorry. Got a little stink bug trying to cover the camera there. All right, so this is in our house, this is the shop, okay? So we have some critters that crawl on the mat every now and then. So here, my hands, now, okay, hand-eye coordination is different, okay? Now, if my hands are down, even if my hands up, okay, or like this, you touch my shoulder fast. You beat me. It's going to hit me, okay? Now, hit my head. I can almost close my eyes. Hit my hand. Okay, because now, hand-eye coordination, the fastest, I think, is somewhere around 200 milliseconds. Okay? When you touch, this is why grappling here, once we get connection with our opponent, we don't have to see it. Now we can feel it and sense it. I can feel it way quicker than I can recognize with my eyes and then have appropriate action. Okay? Okay. So put your hands up, just like this. Okay? We'll show you a little example. Come close. Let's come over here. Here we go. It's a little bit of voodoo. Okay? Now follow my hand. Follow my hand. You see, Saban's always just a little bit behind. Now very gently touch my hand. Okay? Now follow me. Follow me. Follow me. Stay with me. Stay with me. Okay? All right? It's because he can feel me now. Okay? So the nervous system, and you can feel it, especially with the fingers. You're very highly sensitive. So I can feel his intention, his movements, all right, before really I can see them. Okay? So, yeah, I'm kind of covering a lot as far as really just concept, but that pisao, to go back to that, the kick, the low line kick, one of the best ways to practice this, if you have a heavy bag, is to hang the heavy bag, okay, if you have a really heavy one, okay, and you swing it away from you. And if you throw that kick, boom, and that weight of that bag coming back, boom, knocks you back like this, you know you need to correct it a little bit. So if you'll notice, if he's coming towards me, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, you see, if I'm off balance or if I'm trying to do that kick in return, it's a little bit different. When he steps in now, boom, now come forward. Okay? I want to be able to stop him, intercept, and close the distance. And quite often, one of the biggest benefits of this kick is that all the power, even if he's going to throw that right hand overhand haymaker, okay, that's the most common first initial strike in all martial arts. I'm short-circuiting the power because all the power is born from the ground up, okay? So I can't stress to you enough to practice that kick. And again, the distance is further than you think. Stretch with your partner here, okay? And the second they step in, boom, that's your time, that's your space. Don't move the back foot. If you're gonna move that back foot, it's here, okay? So you can practice, step back this way a little bit more, okay? So I can practice this. Step, okay, keep going. I can step, boom, and then it's time to go, okay? So just something for you guys to think about and consider. Any questions out there as far as like techniques that we can cover, any situations that you guys want to go over, okay? If not, we can do some of the other situations. Somebody grabs a hold of you, grabs your neck, things like that. Because self-defense, a lot of times, the fight starts with a sort of an aggression, right? They get into if you allow them into your space, next thing you know, it could be grabbing a hold of you, okay? It could be grabbing your neck. But for us, they grab a hold of us. We're no longer talking. Fight's on, okay? But we have to understand each situation is different, okay? So it's important, like this here, okay? Don't let me pull you. Keep your base. Good. Now, okay. Now, what's your next move? Yes. Step. Slide. Good. There you go. Good. Okay. Now, I'm going to do that to him. Okay. Now here. Okay. Listen, sir. Can you take your arm off my shoulder, please? Okay. Take your hands off, please. Okay. All right. So it might be that maybe I walked into the wrong, maybe I walked in the VIP area and I didn't have the badge or something. And the guy grabs a hold of me, like security, grab my shoulder. Boom, Now I got a lawsuit. I've ripped his shoulder apart. Okay, so it's important to think about these situations. We don't always have to rip the guy's shoulder. Grab my shoulder, please. Okay, listen, hey. One thing I want to always do is make sure I'm in base and be ready to defend. Okay? Because why is he grabbing my shoulder in the first place? Okay? This may have to change. So we practice all these techniques, but you need to be ready to be fluid with them. Many people that practice these techniques, it's like this. Grab my shoulder. Okay, pull. Right? That's all fine and good, but we have to blend this with reality. Okay? It's not a kata. Jiu-Jitsu does not have kata. Okay? It has to be practical. How do you do that? You have to put it with resistance and realize that fights are chaotic and they're going to change. Okay? So if he grabs my shoulder, base is first. Okay? Grab. Good. Now my hand's on the inside. Now, if I'm in base, if he decides to throw a punch, instead of grabbing my shoulder, I have to be ready for this. Okay? So my hand's up and I'm ready. So maybe it's a conversation. Hey man, take it easy. Maybe it's a punch, but I need to be ready for that. Okay? So if he's grabbing my shoulder and pulling me and has no intention of punching me, why is he grabbing me? Okay? Did I walk into the wrong area? Am I accidentally walking into the ladies' room or something like that? He's just trying to help me. I'm like, hey man, hold on. Right? I don't want to necessarily have that so I rip the guy's shoulder apart, you know? I need to understand, hey, what's going on, man? You know? Can I help you? Right? So every situation is going to be different, and we have to be ready and be pliable with those situations. So if I'm here and he grabs my shoulder and he decides to throw a punch, well now the response is going to be different. Okay, so it's important that you throw in the chaos. It's great to start and practice. Okay, nice and slow, base. Okay, get your base. Lean back a little more. Good. Now step and slide behind me. Yes, swing the arm in front. Bend. Yes. Now come under. Make a fist. Good. Here. Now grab the wrist. Good. Okay. So that's the first part. Yes, I don't want to throw the chaos and like he's just learning this technique. I want to go here and bam. Ah.
Sorry again. You all right?
Yeah, that was right in the eye. Oh,
Yeah, don't do that.
that was a little more chaos than we expected. Oh. Ooh, yeah,
You okay?
yeah, I think so.
Close it up. You good?
Yeah. All right. So don't poke me in the eye this time. I'm trying to explain. Okay. Not bad reaction. Okay, but not exactly.
Trying to go up.
Yes. Okay. So here's the idea. You kind of threw me off a little bit there, but I'm not trying to throw that chaos into Zayvon yet because he's learning these techniques. Okay. But at some point, one thing has to change to the other. All right. Because a fight is chaotic. It's going to change. And so once they learn, you learn each technique with as little resistance as possible, or what we would call a cooperative resistance, meaning I'm not just a dead fish here. I'm grabbing his shoulder, base, and I'm helping him learn. Step and slide. Don't poke me in the eye. Good. Swing the arm through. Good. Under. Grab under. Yes. Good. Okay. All right. We're doing that slowly because he's learning the technique. So he has to learn the technique, get down the details, and when you're practicing these techniques, you want to do them slowly like we were demonstrating before. Do them so slowly you can't make a mistake. Okay, that was always drilled into our head early on. Okay, repetition, repetition, repetition. Once that's accomplished, just like learning how to do an arm lock on the floor or a chokehold, you need to put it into resistance. So that part is critical. Now you got to be able to do it safely, okay? So keep that in mind. Don't poke your partner in the eye, but it's okay. But keep that in mind. I think that's super important. I think it's a critical thing for us to recognize and to do is put these self-defense techniques into realistic training, okay? To make them realistic, to make them effective. It doesn't matter what it is. You could shoot free throws all day long. It doesn't mean that just shooting free throws and being able to be the best free throw player in the world or free throw shooter is going to make you good at basketball. Okay? You get into a real game and somebody's hands in your face and they're stealing the ball, that's a different skill. So, yes, but you got to start, and you got to start slow, and you got to learn how to do this, and you got to have to learn how to grab here, step, slide, swing, good, all right? And be corrected little by little. That repetition is very, very important at the beginning. But once you get it down, you owe it to yourself to start putting it to resistance, okay? Now, keep in mind at first it's going to be a cooperative resistance. We're going to go slow. And then little by little, you start adding in more and more, okay? And that's important because we have to stay safe, right? We're learning how to build our bodies up and how to improve our health and everything. Well, that's not going to be very helpful if we're breaking ourselves down by training, right? We don't want to take concussions on a daily basis and, slams on the ground and things like that. So we have to balance it. We have to always balance the highest level of realism with the lowest risk of injury. There's a balance there. There's always a risk of injury. You train this jiu-jitsu enough, you're going to have an injury. But you want to train it smart so that you have the least the least amount of major injuries possible, right? You want to protect your body because especially for men, for the most part, they're most likely to get attacked younger and older. Women get attacked at all ages, right? But for the most part, and when I'm in my 60s, I want to be able to, when my youngest daughter turns 18, I'll be 63. So I want to be like like Gracie's dad, you know, Mauricio Gomez is still training. He's close to that age, 60 years old. I want to still be able to be on the mats and be and train with my sons and train with my daughters. And so to do that, I have to be mindful and realize that, you know, like I want to protect my body. I want to be able to, I like hiking and backpacking. Well, I need my legs to be in good shape and my spine and everything. So it's very important to have a healthy approach. But again, we have to have that resistance training. So just doing it safely. What kind of questions we have?
So David, aside from eye gouges now, would like to know, one hand grabbing on the neck or collar and the other hand is going to punch?
Yes.
Or hockey style grab and punch?
Okay, good. I'm glad you asked this question because I think I've told this story before, but I used to hang out with, when I first started coming down to Columbus to train with Jeff Hudson, was my instructor, my direct instructor, of course Helson eventually, later, but I learned the majority of Jiu-Jitsu directly from Jeff, who learned it directly from Helson and the rest of the Gracie family. And so when I first started training, I knew about Jeff and I started coming down on the weekends to train because I only had that one class a week where I was at. I would train with my brother at home and try to talk my friends into training with me on the carpet. But eventually, my girlfriend went to Ohio State, so it was awesome because on the weekends I had the weekends off. I could drive down to Columbus, spend a weekend with my girlfriend, and train jiu-jitsu. And you know, with the guy, I mean, at that time he was only 2-stripe blue belt, but people were coming from like 3 states away to come train with Jeff Hudson. And so I would hang out with my girlfriend, and one of her roommates was dating. A couple of her roommates were dating hockey players from Ohio State, and they were all Canadian guys. And the one guy, Gerard, super nice guy, and we just hit it off, had a really fun time. And so I would bring down the UFC tapes. I would be watching them and showing them to these guys. And I was just curious. I was like, so Gerard, it was like, because they allowed fighting in hockey, junior hockey and whatnot, not in college, but the fighting was just part of hockey. So I was like, so Gerard, it's like, do you guys ever like practice like fighting techniques, like an actual technique for hockey, because I've seen guys pull the shirt over and start punching the face and all this stuff, and you guys have seen it, right? So I'm gonna move over to this side like this. So he's like, oh yeah, eh? So this is my terrible Canadian accent, but anyway, he's like, yeah. So he's showing me just like I'm showing him. He's like, so at first you grab the jersey like this, eh? Right there at the shoulder. And he's like, if they try to punch, it's very similar to jiu-jitsu, right? Because it's based in realism, right? The realistic, hockey fight. So he's like, so you block like this, and he tried to punch, you block like this. He tried to uppercut, you do this like this, and then you pray to Jesus he's not left-handed. So I found that really funny. I always, but that's my funny hockey fighting story. But so let's go back to the question again. So it was one hand, or it was like this, correct?
Either the hockey style grab and punch, or one hand grabbing on the neck or collar, and the other hand is punching.
Yes. Okay. So not much changes from this to this to this, right? So now if they grab my neck or my shirt and they have not started to punch it, I'm going to arm lock. We're going to pull them off base, step back, and we can drop on the arm if we need to. Okay. But that comes very quickly. So if somebody starts an aggression by not necessarily punching, but grabbing my throat here, like I pull him off his base, I step back, step 3, boom. Okay, so we have the arm lock there. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about that, but I'll try to answer the question. So you're right-handed, right? So if he grabs my hockey jersey or whatever, okay, he is controlling in distance a good bit here, but the arm free. So if he's grabbing both of my shoulders like this, okay, well now we have to solve this problem, okay? So hold here again, all right? So this is 2 hands on the collar. We have a way of deflecting the arms here and getting in close and controlling the distance. But let's say he grabs like this, and then he decides, so let me demonstrate the attack first. So like, look here, man, and then a punch starts to come, okay? So I think we've all probably seen a situation like this before. This is what I prefer, what I like. Okay, so here, so he goes here like that, always in base. We talked about that before. Loading up more on your toes. So when he grabs, the fight is on. We need to be ready. So if I'm not already in this process, my arms are already coming up. Okay? Now, if he retracts one arm to punch, I prefer this. A lot of people like this. Go ahead. But I don't like this distance here, especially being tall. I don't want to take that accidental, even an accidental headbutt. I don't want to take it. Okay? What I prefer is this. So he goes to throw the punch, my elbow comes straight up the middle. Okay? So I'm covering up this whole side of my face. Okay? So a boxer block a punch like this, but keep in mind it has 16-ounce gloves here. That's not enough to cover the head most of the part, and of course another 16-ounce glove is coming at it. Empty hand is different. I want to come here, and I want to, this elbow is tracking the line right up his jaw. So if anything, if we come close, I'm not taking a headbutt, he's taking an elbow. Okay? So once again, my hands start to come out, he grabs a hold here. Okay? Now I can already tell he's right-handed because of how he's standing, right? And this is a good clue that he wants to throw a punch. So when he goes to throw the punch, here, elbow up, I collect that arm. Once I have that, I prefer this. Very similar to what we had before. So I have an overhook here, all right? I want to take this arm and I'm going to pummel this elbow through and come under, okay? So now we can come to the side. We've got our leg hook, we've got hip throw, you know, but most important part is closing that distance, getting safe. So once again, he grabs me here. My hands are already up. If I'm not already doing this, my hands are coming up. He goes to throw the punch, elbow up the middle. And I'm closing, I'm kind of collecting, I'm bringing myself here. He's going to be aiming here, okay? He wants to use this arm to hold me at this distance. But if I shake my body like this, I'm closing that distance on this side, okay? So yes, he can hold me here a little bit with this side, but my shoulder can come in because he's not holding here anymore. Okay? So from here, good. Throw the punch, block, wrap, pummel, under, come to the side, okay? And get to that side T position if you're able to, okay? So hopefully that helps. That's how I would approach it anyway. But
is it any different with the neck?
Yes and no, okay? So if you're holding me here, now against the wall, let's watch that. So against the wall, our first objective, if he's pinning me here, would be this, okay? Hold me, like choke on, go ahead. Here, okay? Then the elbow will come back. Now, if I'm in that action, if I'm doing this right, so you guys might not be able to see what's going on, but he's holding me up against the wall here. Now, if there's nothing behind me, I can pull him off his base, okay? Step, boom, and then arm lock, okay? If he's already in action, if he's coming towards me, and he goes to grab my neck and go to throw a punch, okay? I can block for sure. And that's what I would do here if I was stuck up against the wall. The elbow comes straight at the middle, and we would do the same thing. Pummel, okay?
That's what I was wondering, if they're like,
No, good question.
you know.
For the most part, if somebody wants to punch you, and that's their intention, they'll grab.
Yeah.
This is a grab here, but it's only good. This is a very visceral sort of, maybe that's not the right word, I'm not sure, but
Vicious.
yes, extremely vicious and very, extremely dominating, right? Like I'm holding your life in my hand, right? This is the kind of dominant kind of grip that somebody would use, like look here, right? You know, but the problem here is that, you know, typically if they want to do this, they're intimidating. They're moving toward, you know what I mean? And of course, it's a very deliberate act, or maybe there's a wall behind you. Okay? So if we're able, we have that space, we'll pull them off base. If somebody wants to punch you, typically it's going to be because they want to hold you in this same distance. They want to hold you in that red zone so that the damage can be as great as possible. But you can shape, you can angle your body. So bring that arm up. Yes, good. That's it. Do it again. So I come here. Good. Again. Okay. So I grab. Yes, that's it. You're going to close that distance. Okay. All right. Hope that makes sense. How's everybody doing in YouTube world? I'm looking at the comments over here. Thanks, Egg. We love you back.
I've got a ring name now.
What's the ring name?
Zaven the Eye Giesler.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Hope my eye is going to be okay. Dominant, that's the word I was looking for, Maurice. Thank you very much.
You're lucky I don't have fingernails.
Maurice says, how about a double hand throat grab?
Double hand throat grab. Great question.
Not on the wall.
Not on the wall. Okay, so there's two scenarios, and I wish Mandy was feeling up to it because she could demonstrate it a lot better because of the size difference. But we can, you know, have you learned these yet? You're going to. I think you've learned some.
I'm sure I have, but I wouldn't know.
So there's two main responses, okay? And the reactions and the response is different depending on the attack, okay? So we just said before, like this dominant sort of grip like this, okay? If somebody grabs a hold of me with both hands, okay? Now, if they're grabbing, I'll show you the two differences in the attacks, and then we'll talk about the response and why they're different. Okay, one is just like we were talking about before, that domineering kind of like, look here, you know, I can, you know, like, I have complete control, right? This is a very, very, yes, the dominant sort of like attack, right? So we have to respond to this quickly because if somebody's really squeezing, it can do a lot of damage to your neck, but it also, I mean, just like a regular chokehold, even if it's crude, you can pass out fairly quickly. So you have to respond immediately. So again, always some base, but one is like this, like look here, okay? Another is like this. Maybe there's a wall behind him and I want to, look here, come on, let's go. You know, like I want to push him up against the wall, okay, to get even more control. So the one where he's holding me close like this, okay, very simple. I step back and I tuck my chin. So I'm going to turtle my neck, step back. So I'm here. Step at 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, either one, okay? I prefer, I'm doing the opposite side. Let's come over here. I always step back with my right foot. That time I showed the left because I wanted to face the camera. The reason why is because you have some techniques you need to develop on both sides because if I grab him here, I grab him here, he needs to develop that on both sides. This one doesn't matter. I want to put my strong side to the rear because I'm still in striking distance. So if I'm here like this, base, step back, circle the head, and then I'm going to come right back here. Or my hands just come up to make distance, or, once again, grab, pull tight, good, step, and then I can close the distance, okay? So all of those follow-ups are reasonable and really depend on the situation. Whether I need to get away, or I need to clinch and control this person, okay? So, and each of these situations can be different, right? And for different people. So, for example, if I'm out with my family, I can't just run. I'm like, good luck, honey. See ya. Okay? I'm going to have to deal with the threat, right? I'm going to have to nullify that threat, whatever way I can, and I'll do it in the most humane way I possibly can. Yeah. But if I can run, if I have the opportunity, I'm able to, well, of course, why not? Like, get the heck away. I mean, you win 100% of the fights, you don't get in. So if I can get away, I'm going to get away. So much of it depends on the scenario, okay? Now, if the person is driving forward towards me, I'm going to have to take a step back anyway. If it's a very violent, so we're here like this, I'm going to go easy, but just stand flat-footed, like, maybe my demeanor changed all of a sudden, and I'm like, boom, you had to step back, didn't you? Okay? So same thing. So he grabs a hold of my neck and comes forward. Here, I deflect, and then we're going to throw, okay? So, come towards me, like bring me your hand, like you're really trying to, yes, good. You see, I deflect, and I grab the elbow. Let's turn to this side. So it's going to be 2 steps. 1, okay, I'm pointing my foot away from him. We're going to go the same direction. So here, C grip on the elbow. Arm comes straight up the middle. Here, I'm going to wrap here. Now, keep in mind, he's going slow, but his energy is still going to be coming forward. So as he's coming forward, I bend my knees, I collect him, and then we throw, okay? So, you're going to do it to me, all right? And so sometimes it takes a skilled attacker, right? So when you're the person being the attacker, you're going to help them out. So big step back, hold the elbow, good. Step, feet shoulder width apart, bend your knees, yes. You see how I arrived right over top of his hips. So if I'm coming forward with intention, it's almost like, boom, right? And you like run it, if you've ever tripped and ran and fell into a gate, you're going to fall over it, right? That's kind of the idea. He's going to turn himself into the gate. So he's going to stay there, sort of, but he takes 1 step back for his base to position himself. He deflects, bends his hips, boom, and then we're here. Lift. Just lift. Yes. okay? So that's the idea. Your foot okay? Good.
Yeah.
I'll demonstrate one more time on this side. Grab my neck, come forward, up the middle to deflect the arms. Bend the knees really good, and then we throw. Whoa. So, those are the two different scenarios. One is controlling, holding. One is driving, okay? Now, if you get pinned up against the wall, then it changes. Let's be here, okay? So here, he pins me up against the wall. Both my hands have to come up now. Because I can't step back, I can't throw him, so I come up, wrap my neck. Go ahead. So, no, you're fine. So both my hands come up until I can feel a finger. One finger, I'm just gonna peel it out. Boom. The second hand comes under, I grab it a C grip, and then we break the finger here. So to come close here so you guys can see, right? I'm here, both my hands are gonna come up until I can peel a finger. Okay? And then I turn it down, the second hand is gonna come under to pin it so he can't pull his arm free. If I grab like this, pull your arm out. Yes. If I grab like this, monkey grip, pull your arm. Good. Pull your arm. Not as easy. I can follow him to the floor. Okay? So that's important against the wall. If you don't have the mobility, keep walking my head into this thing. If you don't have the mobility to reach up with both hands, or like for example, we have one of our students has only one hand, okay? So she has to approach this scenario differently. And here's why. Can I borrow you? I won't grab hard. She's got a very sore neck, okay? Just so you guys can see. Okay, can you bend down a little bit? Okay? So if I'm grabbing Mandy, you see, and this is a realistic grip. So this is why both hands have to come up, because you're not going to know from her perspective, thank you, which hand is on top of the other. So if I can wrap my hands around somebody that much the smaller, my fingers are going to overlap. So we need to come up with both hands. If you have a mobility issue, or you can't, or you don't have that ability, you can still do the step out like we did before, but it's going to be different. What I'm going to do here, grab both hands, please. Okay, we'll angle just a little bit so you guys can see. Okay, what I'm going to do now, if I don't have that mobility, one of our brown belts can't reach up like this. He's got some issue with his elbows, right? So the best response for him is to turtle up again. I'll go against the thumbs. Now I'm going to come up like a shelf underneath here. So I pop at the elbows, right above it, not here, right at the elbows, okay? And I lower my base. Okay, so I'm going to pop and I drop my hips out, and then we can get off the wall, okay? So there's some options, not always in the standard Gracie self-defense curriculum, but it's important for us to keep modifying, keep applying the same principles and coming up with solutions for people and modifying, because not everybody can do this, all right? But there's an option. There's a jiu-jitsu out there for everybody, right? So I firmly believe that. I hope that makes sense. Thank you for the question. How are we doing on time?
You're at almost 12:45.
Oh man, this is a long
Stephen
one.
Castro wanted to see takedowns, but if you don't have time for that now, maybe we could.
Yeah, Stephen. So we're kind of coming close to 45 minutes, a long class. But I will show you one of my favorite as far as competition takedowns really quickly. I don't like, and so I have a few, like maybe three takedowns that I really kind of go to. Most of like, let's say competition training, for the longest time, I just pulled guard on everybody for a long time. I don't like doing that anymore. I prefer to be on top or let them pull the guard, because a lot of people pull guard nowadays. So I prefer to be on the top now, but there are a few takedowns that have worked well for me over the years. I'm a tall guy, and the other thing that as far as competition takedowns, kind of like what we were talking about before, we develop those so that you develop standing base and capability that can directly apply to a fight. So for me, and being a tall person especially, I don't like a lot of the things that go down low where I'm driving my knees onto the floor. I like clinch stuff, okay? Now there is one exception, and I'll show you that technique in just a second, okay? But I like the takedowns and the throws from the clinch position. So I really prefer clinches. So even what we were doing before, just grips like this and the self-defense stuff, our takedown instructor, one of our black belts, Derek Oney, one of the best takedown coaches in the state, wrestling coaches rather, I should say, and great jiu-jitsu practitioner, did a whole series for like 2 months where we started like this. Now that looks very similar to what we just did, self-defense. So we like those things, and he won't drag his knees on the floor anymore. Just being older, but his takedown capability is still very high, right? And so much of the stuff that we do, I like from the clinch because, if I take a low shot and he sprawls on me in a fight, man, a big guy, I'm going to be in trouble, man. Now I'm in a turtle position, he's on top. That's bad news. And you're more likely to run into somebody with wrestling background than you are with jiu-jitsu background, at least at this point, okay? So here, like a lot of this stuff, I prefer these types of takedowns because they're applicable to self-defense. And even if I mess up and I fall and end up on the ground, my upper body is in more close proximity to his, and I'm more likely to be able to get into a good guard position, okay? So that's why I prefer the takedowns from the standing, I prefer the self-defense takedowns, right? Even for competition, if I can get to those positions, they're still very effective, okay? Leg hooks, even hip throws sometimes, but any hook on the legs where I'm not damaging my knee or going down low, and I can stay nice and tight with my opponent. The one exception to that works well for me, just because I practiced it a lot and I like it, is the arm drag, okay? And I like the arm drags a lot because they're so useful for self-defense as well. There's so many things that you can do with the arm drag. I think if you're practicing jiu-jitsu, you should have a good arm drag scenario. So even if this person comes up to push my shoulder, I've got very, very good capability just slipping right around to his back. Okay, I know that was kind of fast, sorry. But how can I apply that to grappling? So we're here, just sportive grappling. He's got a hold of my gi. I break the grip first. Now I'm going to arm drag. I'm going to come here. I pass this arm down. Now almost always when you do this, you're going to have a retraction. They're going to want to pull back. And when I feel that retraction, I'm going to let this leg slide in. My heel goes all the way around. I'm going to catch his heel with the back of my knee here. And this arm comes across his belly, okay? So once again, let's do it from here. Huh?
I said I wasn't expecting that.
All right, well, good. I'm glad it worked. So let's say he has a grip or he's reaching out. Boom. Okay, maybe I have control here like this, and I see the opportunity. I see the elbow flare just enough. I hook it, I pass it in front. As I feel that retraction, he starts to pull back here. His weight starts to go back on his heels. I throw this leg in, boom, and I pull the heel all the way back, okay, and I drive forward. And as I'm coming down, this arm, because I don't want to land here, because now it's a race for him to take my back. So as he starts to fall, this arm is going to pummel through, and I catch him here, and I'm going to start my guard pass right there. So that's one that works well for me. It's, again, self-defense wise, if I were in a scenario like this and he came up to push or whatever, I would do that. I would stay standing, I would get to his back, kick his neck, or even just a clinch, okay? So lots of opportunities, but man, practice the arm drag, and I'll end with this, okay? To practice the arm drag, stay flat-footed, okay? And your partner's gonna push your shoulder, and you're gonna let your shoulder collapse, okay? So I'm gonna let my shoulder collapse, my hand comes here to the wrist, and I pass, boom, okay? Now, if your partner is smaller than you, you're gonna move them more than you move yourself. If your partner is bigger than you, you're gonna move yourself more. Either way, you're gonna meet them in the middle, okay? So, here, my shoulder collapses. It's almost, the concept here is like, somebody comes up and they go to push, 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 push. I can either block them or I can let, what happens a little bit? Okay, what happens to your weight? Yes, you anticipated resistance. So either I'm in base and I decide that you want to push with both arms, I can block like we did before, or if I feel the push, I can go with it, okay? So what I'm doing here is, and maybe it's even like maybe it's a timed thing. Like I notice, like he pushes me once, hey man, take your hand, stick. And then I know it's coming, and then I can go, okay? I would hope I would respond earlier than that, but it's an option, okay? And so what I'm doing, it's like if you're going up to push up against a heavy door, you have an anticipation, so you lean your weight forward, and you go to push, but what happens when the person on the other side opens the door for you, and you don't recognize it? You go, whoop, right? That's what we're doing. So when he goes to push and he anticipates resistance, I take the resistance away, okay? So this is what I like about this technique is This is the Jiu in Jiu-Jitsu. This is the soft, the pliable, right? Is moving with and taking his energy against him. So my wrist comes to his wrist, I parry it, I come here, right above the elbow, pass, boom. Hand to the hip, I break his base. I'm on a clothesline him right here, and now I can walk him to the floor, or I can just put my hand behind my head, put my hip against his hip, and just hang him, right? Rear naked choke from the standing position. But your base has to be good, okay? Can't let them regain their base and throw you, okay? So for the most part, you can probably just bring them to the floor, but that's, just practice that back and forth. Push, okay, boom. Then he pushes the other side. Do a handful on each side. Little by little, once you start slow, you can start getting the speed up, okay, to where it becomes a reflex. That's what you want. You want to develop your self-defense scenarios and these standing situations to a point of reflex, okay? But it starts slow at first, right? I push, wrist to wrist. Yes, pass, good. Just like that, nice and slow. Remember, do it so slowly you can't make a mistake, okay? You can't make a mistake. Then little by little, you're going to develop those neural pathways to a point of reflex, and it's going to be correct, okay? If you do it sloppily at the beginning, you're going to develop terrible reflexes, and then correcting it is going to take 10 times as many repetitions, okay? So do it slowly at the beginning. So anyway, thank you all for joining us today. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys got any questions, put them in the comments. We'll try to address them. I guess we'll see you next Tuesday. Sound good? So I'm going to stand here and look pretty while my wife ends the whole situation. We love you all. Take care. And yeah, we'll see y'all soon.